back to another episode of Healthy and Whole.
Mind, Body, and Soul.
My name is Leo, and this is my lovely wife,
Shawnee Presley.
And we're here to discuss, again, glad you're joining us another month, but we are here to discuss ways to keep ourselves healthy, whole in every aspect of our being, our mind, body, and soul. Hence the name of the show. But before we get started, we always like to say a huge thank you to Pastor Wyatt and his First Lady at the Apostolic Faith in Brooklyn, New York, on 265 Lafayette Avenue. We want to say thank you to them. This was a part of the brainchild that we built this partnership to bring this show to production to help enhance the knowledge and the well-being of our community. We also want to say thank you to our technical team, the ones that come up with the thumbnails and the flyers and does all the production behind the scenes. So thank you for all of that. So it's been a minute. We had last month, we had a kind of a re-airing of one of our shows, and now we're back live. Yeah. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good.
You sure?
Yes, mentally. Healthy, whole, mind, body, and soul.
All right. We got to make sure we're taking our own medicine here, that we're practicing what we preach. So this month, we're talking about fitness.
Yes.
But not the fitness people always think about. When I say fitness, what term springs to mind?
Body fitness.
Physical fitness, body fitness, muscles, six packs.
Yes.
You know,
endurance, cardiovascular.
There you go. All of those sorts of things that we typically see people strive for when it comes to running marathons, working out for a sport, going to Planet Fitness, or, what's the other ones?
There's Move
Fitness, Gold's Gym, LA Fitness. We always think of our physical fitness, which is good.
Yes.
Many of our episodes are really focused on physical fitness. Yes. But today, whatever time you happen to be watching, we're going to talk about mental fitness. Mental fitness. It's a term you don't...
call it? Between the ears?
Yeah, between the ears. Right between the ears. One of my favorite quotes. I fancy myself a golfer. I like to play, but I'm not good at it at all.
He's pretty good.
No, I'm not. I'm awful. But I enjoy doing it, so I keep doing it. Yeah. But there was a quote, I don't want to miscredit it, but it said that golf is played on a 6-inch course or an 8-inch course. Between your ears. Mm-hmm. And in many aspects, in most aspects, probably in all, our life is played right between the ears.
That's correct.
So not paying attention to our mental fitness can be very detrimental. So we're going to talk about that tonight. If you have questions or comments, leave them in the comment section. And hopefully in future shows, we'll be able to answer some of those questions.
Yes, follow-up videos to those questions.
Yes. Before we go do that, like, subscribe, and share. All the things you do on YouTube, and to make sure these things get out there that people can benefit from.
Yes, and then we can move up in the algorithm.
Yep, the algorithm is our friend if we behave ourselves.
Cool. So, we're going to get straight into the question. He's the guest today, you guys. He is the guest. This is Dr. Leonard Presley, Jr.
There you go. I think the lower third that our production team is going to put on there does say that.
Yes, but, Dr. Leonard Presley, Jr. So, the first question is, what is mental fitness, Dr. Presley?
All right. So, mental fitness is defined as a person's cognitive function and psychosocial health and well-being. Mm-hmm. So, basically, how apt are we in our thought processes, our reasoning processes, and our abilities to interact mentally with others in our environment. Okay. So, now, I know that sounds like a big convoluted word.
It does.
But let's make
it simple for
for
audience and for myself too.
Well, I have to make it simple for me because one of the reasons this show is I think I'm going to enjoy this show is because I've been doing a lot of research into this for personal gain. So, and I think it's very good information to share. So, if you think about physical fitness, why do people train physically? What are the reasons we train physically to be fit?
To live longer. To enjoy life better.
Now, there you go. To enjoy life. What about being physically fit helps you enjoy life?
That you can move around without struggle.
You're more mobile. You're usually less ill. You can usually...
You're not irritable.
You're not irritable.
Less stress.
Exactly. It helps you manage stress. But in the basic sense of it, when we're more physically fit, we're physically able to respond to the demands of our life.
Yes.
When you're out of shape, climbing stairs is hard.
Yeah.
Walking, here and there is hard. If you're not physically fit and you get sick, your body's not as resilient to fight off or bounce back.
Yes.
Mental fitness is very analogous to that. When we are mentally fit, we are more effective at doing the day-to-day things that we need to do because our thought processes are more clear, more functional, and when we do inevitably face stress, we're more resilient, we're more able to cope, we're more able to move past and reason our way through. Yes. So just like physical fitness helps us to function from a physical sense in an improved way,
yes,
mental fitness is basically working to establish or maintain a state of our cognitive or reasoning thinking functions so that we can handle and better perform in life.
Okay. So how would you say let's break it down in different age groups.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've already studied that. Let's say if it's toddlers and then it's school age kids,
mm-hmm.
then teenagers and adults, then older people.
Mm-hmm.
How would they know if their mental fitness is kind of where it needs to be, or you as a person outside looking at them, how would you know that their mental fitness is failing or it needs help somewhere?
Okay, so one thing to think about is when a person, and a lot of again, this is a growing field. Cognitive studies, well, that's when we talk about our mental processes, are just getting to the place where we're understanding all the interplay of mental health, which we'll get into in a minute, mental fitness, our processes in our brain. So all of this is not an emerging science, but these things are still developing. We're still digging out and teasing out the details. But when we are mentally fit, we have a positive sense of how we feel, think, and behave in daily life.
Yeah, you're right.
We have a positive sense. When you are in physical shape, you feel better about today. You feel more confident that I can handle what the world's going to throw at me today.
So it sounds,
you feel stronger. That's a word.
Okay, so it sounds like it's an internal thing.
Yeah, mental fitness is very internal. Physical fitness reinforces an internal perspective that you're more controlled and stronger.
Still mental.
It's still mental. It's still mental.
Yeah.
But mental fitness in and of itself, even if you separate it, if we try to separate it from physical fitness,
mm-hmm.
we are basically saying, I feel mentally strong enough to positively behave, conduct myself, and handle the things I need to get done, that I feel mentally able to do those things.
So from what it sounds like, the people that are not mentally fit
mm-hmm.
may have trouble in almost every area of their life.
Yes, mental fitness, there's not an area of your life that is not affected by your mental state. Okay. Now, before we get going, I know this is starting to blur lines a little bit. A while back, we did a show on mental health.
Mental health, yeah.
Mental health as a term.
That was the next question.
Okay, go ahead and ask the next question.
What is the difference between mental fitness and mental health? Because anything mental, everybody thinks is one thing.
Right. When you discuss mental health, if you talk to behavioral psychologists or psychiatrists, all these sorts of folks, when they think of mental health, when the world thinks of mental health, we think of dealing with some type of mental dysfunction. That dis meaning you're not functioning optimal, or you're not functioning at what would be considered baseline.
For you?
No, period.
Okay.
That you're not able, that just
so
like
this is a societal thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. When you go to the doctor, if you're diagnosed with a mental health disorder, mm-hmm. anxiety, depression, they base that on, are your tolerance for certain stimuli, stresses, are they above or below what is considered normal? Okay, everything's relative.
Okay.
Everything's relative.
Yeah.
And that's why you will see mental health handled differently, and sometimes it's unfortunate, based on culture. Because one culture will, what is average or what is expected for them may be above or below what is that normalized average for on these tests and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but mental health is basically how are we treating or managing some type of diagnosed mental health disorder.
Okay.
Or so you're unhealthy
so
at that point.
It's something clinical.
That's almost clinical. In many cases it is clinical. Okay. So you're not considered mentally healthy at that point. There's some need to get you back to what mental healthy status would be. Okay?
Yes.
Mental fitness, you can be mentally healthy and not mentally fit.
Oh, this is interesting.
This is very interesting. This is why I've been digging so deep. I told you this was good.
This is interesting.
So you can be mentally healthy, which means the absence of dysfunction, the absence of disease.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
But not mentally fit. Again, let's step into the physical world.
Okay.
Someone may not have a diagnosable condition. They may not have diabetes or a stroke or cancer, or they may not have a disease process ongoing at that moment.
Yes.
But they can be out of shape and not fit. So if you tell them to climb 3 flights of stairs, they're not sick, but it's very, 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 very difficult for them to do and recover as expected.
I understand it. I understand what you're saying, but put it into the mental part.
Okay, that's what I'm getting ready to do.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting ready to do. So if someone is diagnosed, someone could be, they don't have a diagnosis of anxiety, but they thought they could have seen their doctor, they could have talked to him, and nothing, there were no markers, there were no clinical indicators for a disease process or some mental health disorder being present. So by all standards, again, that word, we have to use that word loosely, but with all standards or accepted averages, they are mentally healthy or functional.
Okay.
But when they're not mentally fit, they can lack focus, they can lack clarity, they can lack self-esteem, they can lack, and again,
this is what I'm seeing all over social media right now.
Yes.
Okay.
And these people are not diagnosed
Yeah.
with any clinical thing. They don't have the hallmark behaviors of anything that would say they have a mental disorder.
Yeah.
They're just less able to deal with the day-to-day rigors of life. They are not as effective, productive, or they are pleased with where they are or what they're doing. And it's a very nebulous term.
I know, but the way you're explaining it and talking about it, it almost makes me feel that it's not fair for the people that are, if they are going through this little fitness issue mentally, that they're not even given a, what's the word am I looking for? Like assistance and like, okay, how
they're not
can
giving support.
Support,
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Because you're not clinically diagnosed. You should be able to get over this.
Exactly. And that is one of the biggest things about mental fitness is mental fitness versus mental health. I was listening to, I think it was a podcast a couple weeks ago as I was kind of digging through these materials. And one of the things I heard a behavioral psychologist says is that sometimes he feels this, I don't want to quote it, I don't want to miscredit, but the presenter was saying that in the world today, in the way clinical tendencies are when it comes to behavioral and mental health, some things tend to be traumatized that are simply normal parts of life.
Yes.
Now, there are some things that will occur that are traumatic experiences. They are not things that are expected to be a normal part of your life.
But what would you say about, for you, it may not be traumatizing, but for this particular person, it may be traumatizing.
But this is what I'm saying. Okay. So the example he used was grief.
Yeah.
Grief is not trauma.
Everyone goes through that.
It's a ubiquitous part of life.
Yeah.
Trauma is something abnormal. It's an event that is not a part of the expected normal trajectory of life.
Understood.
Now, does that mean grief is not hard? No. Does that mean grief doesn't affect us? It definitely affects us. But here's where mental fitness comes in. A person can not have any mental disorder, so they're mentally healthy. But the less mentally fit we are, when presented with the challenge of grief, we are less able to cope.
I understand that.
That is an example of mental fitness. Just like physical fitness, you know, if someone's out of shape, they can't run as far as someone that's in shape. If someone's less mentally fit, I may be able to be very productive over an 8-hour workday. Your mental fitness is only 3.5 because you're just not very mentally fit. That makes sense?
Yes, it does.
I know it's very, and now again.
No, I mean, it does make sense because I'm thinking as a woman that my daily life is, you know, what we've chosen is to take care of the children. But if grief happens, how am I going to be able to do that, taking care of the children with the grief on top of that?
Right.
So if my mental fitness isn't where it needs to be, because my mind is being drawn everywhere, that grief is going to put like a big damper.
Right.
So I can understand that.
And now when you say your mind's not being drawn everywhere, mental fitness is not about what affects you. It's about your ability to respond to what affects you.
Yes.
Okay? So even though your mind's being pulled everywhere, your ability to have put in the mental fit exercises or whatever we're going to talk about going forward, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, your ability to recognize and handle the stressors that are coming to you.
Yes.
That's what mental fitness is.
Yes.
Ooh, that was a lot. That took us 15 minutes to define. But you know why?
Yeah.
Because there's so much overlap there.
A lot of overlap.
And the line is very fine. This is why mental health, mental fitness, it has to be an ongoing, not want to say issue, but consideration. Yeah. We have to always think about these things. We have to always be present with ourselves.
But in many cultures, you don't think about it because they tell you just
grin and bear it.
Yeah. Get through it. Get through it. Don't worry about how you're feeling right now or whatever. Get through it. Get through it. Get through it.
And here's the idea. Here's the problem with that. When we neglect our mental fitness, we will become mentally unhealthy. Okay. Just like lack of mental fitness and attention to it will or can lead to true mental health problems. Because if I'm constantly not having, I'm constantly in a state of lack of mental fitness.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
And I'm not achieving or I'm not progressing the way I should. And now I start this negative spiral with that. I'm going to end up bordering on depression, if not there.
Yes, that's it. As soon as you started talking, my thoughts were going into all those different kinds of things. Yeah.
This is why it's so important for us as a community, as support members, as family members, to not, yes, you don't want to enable people who are just self-limiting.
Yes.
You don't want to do that.
Yes.
But
we know a lot of, we know people
everybody
like that.
knows somebody who makes their life seem so much harder than it really is, and they want pity. We understand that.
Yeah.
But what we don't want to do is not give support to those people that need it, and have them try to hide or stuff down or neglect those feelings. Because just like unhealthy eating habits, they hide it, and then it manifests as diabetes and blah 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 blah. Unhealthy mental coping habits or strategies will manifest as poor mental health. This is why mental fitness is so important. But there's no way we can get through this in an hour show or whatever the show ends up being.
I agree. It is very layered.
It's very layered.
And this is not even going to touch 1% of it.
But my reason for this show is to get you at least thinking about it. Go do some Google searches. Go read. I'll give you a list of books that I've read that have kind of started me down this track. So we'll talk about that as we go. But
our next question, Dr. Press, is how does our brain work and why is fitness needed, which we kind of just talked about.
How does our brain work, though? One of the things that comes with, again, I keep making this analogy between physical and mental fitness because everyone's more familiar with physical fitness. If you're going to start to work out, one of the first things you'll notice about people who work out, trainers, or people who are just avid fitness buffs, they know how to design a workout to get a desired result. Because they know how the body works. If I want to get bigger arms, I don't need to go do leg exercises or vice versa. So knowing how the muscles, how the heart works, if I want to train my heart to be better able to have increased cardiovascular health, I'm not going to do that by lifting weights necessarily. I need to do cardiovascular exercises. So knowing how the body works helps us to be more targeted and more intentional and more successful when we're training for physical fitness. Knowing how the brain works is necessary for trying to be more mentally fit. Okay. So first thing.
How does the brain work?
How does the brain work? Now, there's a book called Activate Your Brain by Scott G. Halford, Halford. He does a great job with this. Now, there's 3 parts to our brain. 3 parts. There's what is called the reptilian or autonomic brain. Autonomic sounds like what? Automatic. This is the part of your brain that controls your breathing, your heart rate, all of the normal things that keep you alive that you don't have to think about. Okay? So that's one part. There's a second part that some people, that I can't remember, they maybe call it the fish brain, but I can't remember. We'll go back to that. But it's the part of our brain that tells us about danger, reward, and the seat of our emotions. Guess what? That part of your brain is not volitionally controlled. You don't control what you see as dangerous, what you see as rewarding, or what you see, or your emotions.
I heard something about that. That you just that two different things. One can be nice, one can be mean. Will trigger the same emotional response.
The same emotion, and it's based on your perception of it.
Yeah.
What you see as dangerous may, for me, be rewarding. For you, going.
People that skydive.
Going skydiving is rewarding.
I
mean, that is the biggest high they can get. For me, I'm like, no, that's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
So again, but that's an automatic response based on our state, our mentality, our perspective, our experience, so forth and so on. But it's automatic. You don't, even your emotions. If you don't believe me, if next time you're scrolling on social media and a post comes up that is representative of the opposite political view, before you know it, you would have gotten irritated, angry, whatever you want to call it. That's an automatic emotion.
Or even, I know for me, when I see things where people are helping other people in bad situation, it triggers that sad emotion in me, like automatic.
Exactly. Just like when your eyes process things without your brain thinking about it. Because now that I said that, how many of you read the sign sitting behind us? You probably didn't. Now, your brain knew it was there. And you probably, when you look at it, like, yeah, I know what that said. But it's not because you focused on it and read it.
Yeah.
Okay? Your brain processes everything. And sometimes things will trigger an emotion. You don't have control over suppressing that emotion. All right?
Yeah.
You ever seen somebody automatically go, y'all, don't be like that. Y'all know it's the truth.
It's the truth.
Or you see somebody go, hey, that joy, that burst of happiness, you don't control that.
I had that yesterday.
Who did you have that with? Oh, when you saw Decima. Yeah, that's one of our good friends.
Yeah.
But, and so those sorts of things, those first two parts of our brains are, as science understands now, automatic. You do not control. The third part.
I like that side of my brain.
The third part, but see, here's
some cases.
The third part is what separates humans from every other creature, is the prefrontal cortex, or the human brain.
I heard that before.
It's reason, analysis, and the handling of emotions. Notice I didn't say where emotions come from. It's how we handle them. Not where the thought comes from or where the instinct or impulse comes from. It's how we reason and analyze our way through it. That is the part of the brain where we really need to focus our mental fitness. That volitional part of how we handle an emotion, of how we garner our focus and attention, of how we reason through activities that we need to do, of how we...
You are right. I'm sorry. You are right. You have to... That is a fitness type thing. I was just thinking about that. How sometimes I want to respond to things, but I teach myself, okay, Shani, now you smile, even though you don't feel like it.
Yes.
Or now you compose yourself, even though you want to.
It's mental fitness.
Yeah.
But see, here's the bad part about it. So many people will get stuck in the emotion because they don't know, I really can't control the presence of the emotion. The thing I need to focus on is my response to the emotion. And once I get to, okay, wait, why am I feeling? Then you question, you interrogate, again in that book, you interrogate their emotion. Why did that make me feel that way?
And it's okay to interrogate.
It's needed. Because if you don't interrogate the emotion, then the emotion becomes the boss. And now you're driven by your emotion, which is not a very mentally fit way to live. Look around on social media if you don't think people are driven by their emotion.
Yeah. That's why I think it's with children, when people expect for them to act.
Exactly.
When they're 3 years old, act like you're 7.
Exactly.
Or when you're 5, act like you're 10. Why are you acting that way? They haven't
developed that reasoning ability. This is why if violent crimes committed at certain ages are treated differently than adults. Because as your brain matures, that prefrontal cortex develops, you should become more able to have an emotion, but then have a higher order thought to hopefully control it, express it in a constructive way, whatever you want to say. So now that we know autonomic is vital function, keeps me alive.
Danger, reward, emotion.
Or the mammalian brain. That's what it's called. The mammalian brain, the mammal brain. Danger, reward, emotion. Okay, if I see fire, I know that's dangerous. that you don't control that. It's just there. Okay. And then the human brain that affects our analysis, our logic, our handling of those emotions, our reason. That is that is the muscle we're trying to strengthen when we pursue mental fitness. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yes. All right, number 4. How do we train or work out the brain?
This is what the whole show is about.
Okay.
How do we work out? How do we train our brain? Yeah. Okay. So first, what are some things we want to do? One of the most important things you can do to train your brain. There's a book called Peak Mind. Peak Mind. It's by an author called Amishi Jha. She's a professor at the University of Miami. That's your school, from the University of Miami. And she has dedicated years and years and years and years and studied every type of person you can imagine.
Let's say the name of the book again.
Peak Mind. Peakmind. Amishi, Amishi. I'm not plugging her book because I'm not getting any kickback from it. Amishi Jha, Jha. Okay? She has studied special forces people, high achieving business people, students, everybody. And what she talks about is focus on attention and basically how our mind works, that ability to train the mind, that mental fitness. And she came up and said the highest performing people in any field, in any walk of life, her research found that they can only maintain attention to something 50% of the time. That is the best of us, right? How do they get there? The number one technique she has found is mindfulness. You know what mindfulness is? So it's the not meditation, mindfulness.
You said this a couple of shows ago, that you're sitting there still, but everything that comes in, you allow it to flow in and flow out. You don't just kick it out. You allow it to flow in and flow out, flow in and flow out.
Right. What mindfulness is, it's a big scientific word for it that will make you sound really smart at parties, is metacognition. Metacognition. Cognition is thinking.
Yes.
Meta is thinking about thinking. Y'all like that? That's good, right? That's good.
Metacognition. Thinking about thinking.
That's a whole nother field of scientific study.
Oh my God.
Okay. But when we practice mindfulness, it's basically internal or introspective metacognition. When you practice mindfulness, most of the time, most mindfulness exercises are based on you focusing on your breathing. Not taking deep breaths, not doing this not breathing to go to some transcendental plane. It's not that type of thing. It's just you internally sitting with the sensations that are affecting your body. There's one called breath focus. There's another one called body scan, where if you're doing body scan, they will tell you how you would think about, how does the seat feel underneath me? How does my feet feel in my shoes?
They used to do this in schools.
Yes.
I don't know if y'all remember this, but the younger kids used to do this in school with noodle thing, something like that. Freeze, and they say let it go down and let it come up. Kids used to do meditation in school.
And it was a form of body scan. That's another technique.
That's what it was.
But what mindfulness does is mindfulness trains your brain to pay attention to automatic thoughts that are coming from your brain. So you are more aware of what you're thinking, why you're thinking, what you're feeling, why you're feeling. So not so much why, but what you're feeling. That ability to pay attention to what is coming from those automatic places is the first thing in being able to analyze. If you don't recognize the automatic thought, then you can't analyze it, you can't handle it. That's the first thing. Practice mindfulness. You learn to refocus your attention. And I'm telling you, if you try to practice mindfulness, do not stop because you can't pay attention. You're not supposed to be. That's the whole point. But as you're sitting there, your eyes closed, and the person's talking in a nice soft voice, you got the nice music going, and you're focusing on your breathing. Next thing you know, you're going to start thinking about, I need to go do this, or that last email that I got. And what every person that practices mindfulness will tell you is again, here comes that emotion. You see that, like, my mind's wandering already.
Yeah.
Now that's a negative emotion that's already kicked you out of your mindfulness loop. So what you want to do is
it wants to take over.
Observe the thought, and then gently bring yourself back to where you were with your breath. As it passes, when it comes, don't neglect it. Don't have a negative emotion to it. Just observe it, let it go, and then gently bring yourself. Don't try to snap yourself back. Bring yourself back to that breathing.
Okay.
That's mindfulness. All right. That's the first thing you do. It teaches you to pay attention to what you're thinking and how to refocus yourself. Okay. Now, number two. So that's the first thing you do. Practice mindfulness. Practice paying attention to yourself, to your brain. It's just like one of the biggest things about going to the gym or joining a workout class, you know why people get healthier when they do that? It's not so much of what they're doing. It's the fact that they're paying attention to their health. Mental fitness, paying attention to your mental state is very important. Mindfulness is the first step. Secondly, you do have to take care of your physical health.
Okay. How do we do that for our brain?
Well, if you're not getting the right adequate food, the right sleep, the right amount of water, you will not be mentally fit. Here's the crazy thing. Even though you have mental fitness and physical fitness, you can't separate the two. You can't separate your brain from your body. They work in concert with one another. Do you know your brain is made up of 75% water? No,
I didn't know that.
Your brain is 75% water. So if you're dehydrated, what's the first thing that's going to happen?
That's why you be feeling all wonky.
This is why people think athletes are hydrate to make sure they don't get cramps. That's not true. The primary reason for being hydrated is because it allows you to mentally function at a higher level or at an optimal level.
So that's why when you see the desert thing where the people be
you start hallucinating.
Yeah.
Yes, and guess what? When you're in that dehydrated state, your ability to pay attention suffers. Your ability to have grit or willpower or focus suffers. All of those things suffer. So you have to stay hydrated. If you're like me, I am very averse to drinking water. I don't like it. But I have to hydrate. Whatever hydrate is for you. Now again, if it's a sugar-filled drink, that's not hydration. Or a salt-filled drink, that's not hydration. Yes. So that's what you want to do. Hydrate. So take care of your physical health. Eat foods that are healthy for you. One of the things that is very healthy for your brain, berries, dark chocolate, all of these things help to fireproof or insulate your brain and help it function. Your brain needs...
I don't like dark chocolate. I don't like chocolate like that anyway.
Well, then eat berries. Drink coffee.
I love berries.
Drink coffee.
Sometimes I gotta be
grapes. All of these things, natural berries, grapes, fruit and vegetables, of course, and things like coffee or chocolate have a lot of antioxidants. They have a lot of micronutrients that help your brain develop the chemicals that they need.
Delicious.
Yes. All right. So one, practice mindfulness. And again, there are so many apps and free things on YouTube and Spotify and iTunes. There's no reason you can't do it. Don't say, I don't know how to do mindfulness. Go to iTunes or Spotify, whatever service you use, and type in mindfulness meditation or mindfulness practice. There's things like Calm, Headspace. I mean, there's so many of these things that is not Eastern religious meditation, transcendental. That's not what this is.
Yes.
This is a simple mental fitness practice that helps you pay attention and helps your mental fitness. So mindfulness, taking care of your physical health. The third one, it says find ways.
This is four. Mindfulness, pay attention to your brain, physical health.
No. Mindfulness is paying attention to your brain.
Okay.
And then physical health. That's what I'm glad that y'all taking notes. That's a good correction. Mindfulness helps you to pay attention to what's going on in your brain. Physical health, because your brain needs a good support environment. That is the environment it exists in. And then find your flow. Do you know what flow means?
No.
Anybody know what flow means?
It's like water.
A lot of times we think about flow, we think about somebody singing or rapping or water. Yeah, because it's moving, smoothly. Well, that's what flow is, but it's a mental term. There's a psychologist, I cannot pronounce his name, I'm not going to try. He discovered that flow is one of the best ways to improve fitness, mental fitness. Flow, or the state of being engrossed in what you're doing, is productive and deeply satisfying. Have you ever started doing something and you were so engulfed in it that you looked up and an hour was gone and you didn't know it?
Yes.
That's flow.
Okay.
That's flow. Because that sustained attention, and if it's something that has engaged your attention and can hold it that long, it is something that is engaging your mental, your logic, your reasoning, your analysis. So if you can stay engaged in anything in a flow state, attention improves, analysis and logic improves, reasoning improves.
So what do you say about these kids with video games? Because they be locked in.
Have you ever seen, yeah, and they get lost in them, right?
Yeah.
Think about the amount of motor. Next time you see a kid playing a video game, stand behind them, watch their fingers, watch what's going on the screen. And think about the amount of information they're processing from a motor perspective to make that game do what it needs to do while processing all of the information on the screen. That takes an incredible amount of mental fitness. Let me ask you a question. How many older people you know enjoy video games?
None.
No, not much.
Especially not even on their phones.
Especially not those type of, PS5, PS4. Especially not those types of games. Because those games can be so stimulating that if you're not mentally fit, you can't keep up.
You're right.
And it becomes a stress more than a relaxation.
You are 100% right.
Yeah.
You are right.
Our boys for y'all of those that don't know, we have 4 boys. There's a game that they have called Smash Brothers. Mm-hmm. And it's a 4-player game. And it's all of these characters on the screen and they're fighting. Yeah. I try to play this game with them. And I'm going to admit this to you. I will never tell them this. And if you tell them, I'm going to be very upset.
They'll watch this video.
They will watch it at some point. A lot of times when I'm playing that game with them, I'm just pressing buttons.
I do too.
Because, I don't know the controls very well. Mm-hmm. And 2, I can't keep up with where my character is on the screen because there's things flashing and blowing up and there's people flying this way and objects going that way. I don't even know where my player is. Yeah. Like somebody will hit you and you'll fly off the screen and then you'll respawn somewhere else and they will see that happen and not miss a beat. So
when we play Nintendo, that's nothing.
No. See, that's the problem. People say kids are so smart now, but think of the amount of mental fitness it takes for them to do the things they enjoy.
They're extremely smart.
They're extremely mentally fit.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, guess what, though? If you don't... Now, the next one, so that is find ways to be in flow. We were talking about flow. Find something that is mentally stimulating, not boring to you. It causes you to think, but you enjoy doing it. And then set aside time to do just that.
Okay.
Because that mental flow is a great time for your brain to exercise itself, to get stronger at attention, at logic, at reasoning, and it encourages the development of strong neural pathways. Your brain has something called neural pathways, where one part of your brain or one fiber in your brain is connected chemically to another.
Yes.
The more you use those pathways, the more you think, the more you learn, the more you process, the more you are thinking logically, you reinforce and establish these strong neural pathways, right? Mm-hmm. Your brain also has more neuroplasticity because as those neural pathways get stronger, they start to branch out around them, and now your brain becomes plastic. It can move back and forth. So now, not only is your brain fit, but it's flexible.
So what happens when some of the older folks, their brains aren't as active?
Because as we tend to age and we tend to be less tolerant of fatigue, what do? We shut off stimulation. We stop being stimulated by things. When we're working, when we're kids, think about kids playing video games. Then kids go to college. Then kids start working. When you get a family and everything, we get to a point societally where we want to limit. We want to limit all of our stimulation. Yeah. The problem is we have a necessary amount of stimulation. That is our job, our family, all these obligations, all these obligatory things, stimulations. That's a good word. Obligatory stimuli, things we have to get done.
Okay.
But then when we have a chance to rest, we don't use what is called active relaxation.
How do you do that?
Have a hobby. That's why I like to go play golf. Because even though golf is completely inconsequential in my life, it makes me think.
Well, when you say have an active hobby, a lot of people, especially mid-age range people with careers and children and all that stuff, our hobbies, it's hard to fit that into.
But see, here's the thing. What are you interested in? Let's say you're interested in gardening. Don't try to start a whole garden. Go get a planter box and plant 4 or 5 plants. And every day you care for those plants. You're shutting off that obligatory stimulation, and now you're mentally engaged, you're mentally paying attention in something that is rewarding for you. So now you're rebuilding neural pathways. So
basically, like fitness, they tell you don't make this huge goal of let me lose 100 pounds by September. Yeah. And you could say, all right, let me lose 5 pounds by 2 months. And
Exactly.
then another 10. Okay.
So you make small goals, but very specific goals. Because
Okay.
here's the thing about attention. If you don't make a goal, there's another book called Indistractable. This is a great book. Indistractable by Near, I-N-R. Wait, where's that? Near, I gotta remember his last name. Eyal, E-Y-A-L.
Okay.
N-I-R is his first name. E-Y-A-L is his second name. His last name. Indistractable. One thing he talks about is traction and distraction. Everybody says, well, I can't pay attention. I'm so distracted. If you don't have a goal, let's say somebody says, I'm always distracted. And I ask you, well, what are you trying to do? Well, nothing. You're not distracted.
You just don't have nothing to do.
Because if you don't set a direction, how can you know you're off course?
True.
How can you know you're off course? Right?
Yes.
So, go read that book too. Indistractable is a great book. So, set aside that active relaxation time. So now we've practiced mindfulness. We've kept our body healthy or made our body healthier. We've found our ability to be in flow. Non-obligatory stimulation that allows us to be fully mentally invested in it, paying attention. That's mental workout. And then train your mind. Train your mind. There are apps, do puzzles, do brain games, do word games, play a simple video game. If there's an old, right now they have all these retro game consoles out there. Go get your old favorite video game and start playing it. You will be amazed how mentally stimulating it is and how just being lost in that game is good for your mind. And here's the key. Somebody will say, well, I don't have time to waste. Time you plan to waste is not wasted.
Yeah.
If you plan to play your video game for 45 minutes, that is not wasted time. That is active relaxation that actually helps you better perform when you have to go do something else.
Yes.
Because guess what? That energy, that mental focus you develop helps you in that other thing. And that sense of distractibility and wanting to go do something else, you've already received that reward from that time you plan to waste.
Yeah.
So if you plan to waste time, it's not wasted time. It's relaxation. Okay?
Yes.
So train your mind. So practice mindfulness. Be physically healthy. Find something that helps you get into flow state and engage completely in it. Train your mind. Do things that are stimulating. And then use reminders.
Yes. Yes.
Don't force your brain to remember everything because you can't.
Everybody has one of these devices. Use it. Use it.
So we want to use reminders.
That's why you can use one of these.
Use your electronic brain. The more things you force your brain to remember, it's just like a computer. We're recording on a computer right now. Your brain, now don't get me wrong, your brain has more storage capacity than the largest supercomputers in the world.
Correct.
But the more things you try to keep in your working memory, the slower that working memory is going to be. And inevitably, you're going to miss something. Okay?
Yeah. That's
So
why you got what's the word? Defraction? No.
defragment.
Defragment.
Defragment. Because a lot of times you have all of these separate things floating around in your head that you need to do. Put them into a place, unload your brain, put them into a place where they will remind you. And now it allows you, one, to be more mindful and present.
Yes.
When we talked about attention,
Yes.
you're more mindful and present. And then in a moment, because you're not trying to hold on to all of these things to remember, your brain can be more engaged in the logic, the reason, the analysis, the handling of emotion in the moment.
Yes. Yes.
Use
yes.
reminders.
Yes.
All right. So let's and the last thing, practice gratitude.
Yeah.
Practice gratitude.
Yeah.
For us, this of course, this is this is a religious community here. Practice being thankful. You will be surprised how being thankful and practicing gratitude, one, helps you to be introspective. That's that mindfulness again. What do I have to be thankful for?
Yeah.
That's mindfulness. But two, it helps you to defeat negative self-talk, negative emotions that are usually distracting and can be louder voices than anything else in your head.
Yes.
Okay?
Not just religious community. Anyone that watches this video, this
Yes.
is for you.
This is for you. So let's review. What do you do to train your mind? Practice mindfulness.
Practice mindfulness.
Take
Pay
care-
attention to your brain belongs to practice mindfulness.
Exactly. Take care of your physical health.
Flow.
Find ways to be in flow. Find a hobby that is mentally stimulating, but can hold your attention and time just seems to pass by because that's a brain exercise, but it's active relaxation and it sharpens your saw, so to speak.
And wasted time is not wasted time.
Yeah, exactly. time you plan to waste is not wasted time.
Yes.
All right? Train your mind. Do things that are mentally stimulating. One of the biggest things you can do is take up a new skill.
Okay.
Knitting, crocheting, coloring, drawing. These things make your brain do new things.
And sometimes it's not new. Is that you hadn't done it in a while.
Yeah, or revisit an old thing. That's very good.
That's what I've done with coloring.
That's very good. So that all that goes with all that goes into find your flow and train your mind.
Yes.
Okay? Use reminders. Unclutter your active memory. Don't try to hold things right in the prefrontal part of your head.
Remember calendars that used to be on the wall?
We still got she got
I'm
like 6 of them.
I write on it because everybody doesn't have access to your reminders.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're passing by, they can see the calendar. Okay, I remember that.
Right.
Okay.
And now that works for her. Here's the thing. Do what works for you.
Correct.
Because guess what? I walk by those calendars all day and nothing in my mind ever triggers me to look at it. So Shadi knows if it's a reminder for me, it's something I need to put into my digital calendar.
Yeah.
Because when it pops up on my phone, on my watch, oh, I remember.
Okay.
But if it works for you, that works for you. What works for me, works for me. But the thing is, unclutter your brain.
Yes.
And lastly, practice gratitude.
Yes.
Practice looking and seeing, because that optimistic impulse you get always reinforces.
What they say is in the church realm, count your blessings.
Count your blessings. There you go. Name them one by one.
Yeah.
That's the whole song. All right. So we talked about what to do. Really quickly, we're going to do what not to do, and then we're going to talk about two short topics, focus and memory. Okay? Don't do this. Don't burn yourself out.
Yes.
That hustle and grind culture, the hustle and grind culture has ground people into the dust.
Yeah.
We are not meant to be that way.
Somebody.
It's going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Exhaustion, reduce efficacy, disconnection, all those things lead to burnout. Do you know that mental or burnout now is a medical diagnosis?
Because people are feeling it, and they've been feeling it, just didn't know it.
They didn't know it.
Yeah.
Remember when we said early in the show that if you don't practice mental fitness, you will become mentally unhealthy.
Yeah.
If you don't practice mental fitness and allowing your brain that relaxation time, find your flow state, find that time, plan that time to waste to let your brain kind of unload and unwind, then you work yourself into burnout.
But you know, that's what they talk about for younger people. Work now so later you can rest. There's no way of knowing if you're going to rest or not.
And guess what? Even
you may rest in a different way.
You may rest in peace. But but here's the thing. The work you're doing now, if you don't build in active relaxation and rest and quality sleep, that work will be so much less than it can be that you will never reach your potential.
Yeah.
See, a lot of people think people don't want to work. No. We just want to work better.
Yes.
I want to be better at what I do, and I can't do that if I'm burnt out.
Yes.
Okay? So don't burn yourself out. Don't try to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
You have support systems. Okay? Use them. Don't shut off new experiences. If you get the opportunity to learn something new, to be a part of something new, what is the main reason people shut off new experiences?
Because they're afraid of what the outcome may be or how the people may look at them and stuff like that.
Jordan Peterson said people are never get good at things because they're afraid to be bad.
Yeah.
I don't want to learn that because I don't know it. Well, that's why you have to learn. That's the whole concept. But guess what? Those new experiences, that's mental fitness you're missing out on.
You know, a lot of people don't follow their own things. They tell kids, the kid be like, I don't know how to do that, I don't want to do it. But you got to try.
Yeah.
And we don't follow our own stuff.
But they won't do. Adults won't try nothing. You take adults to a restaurant, they order the same thing every time they go. Facts. See? Try something new. Try something new. Don't discount your inner work. So don't discount that mindfulness, that introspection. Don't neglect your emotional health. If you're having all these negative emotions, stop and ask why. What is going on? Mm-hmm. Again, mindfulness. And don't beat yourself up. Okay? Yeah. If you're just having a kind of grouchy day, that's okay. Mm-hmm. Everybody has those kinds of days. It's not that you're mentally unfit. You're just having a grouchy day. Now, you can interrogate that feeling. Why? What upset me? And then whatever did that, you need to interrogate it, question it, and then use that prefrontal cortex. How do I handle this situation?
Yes.
Analyze, logic, reason. And again, the more you use these tools, the more mentally fit you become. Mm-hmm. Right?
And it becomes a part of you.
And it becomes a part of your process. And then you can get to your peak mind. You can be more indistractable. Right? So now we've talked about all of these things that makes us mentally fit. What are the biggest benefits in today's world about being mentally fit? Focus.
Yes.
What is focus?
I just thought about a cat with the red dot, and they just be all running just for that red dot. That's what focus jumped in my mind.
When we think of focus, we think of singular attention. That I'm just paying attention to this.
You know how to put into words the descriptions that I put.
Yeah, that's why. Because when you're doing that little laser thing with the cat, nothing else in the room matters to that cat.
But what I'm saying is, when I describe stuff by description, and you verbally describe it with words.
I paint a mental image and then I put it in words.
Nice. Go ahead.
Okay. But
singular.
Singular focus. Singular attention. But what is attention?
I don't know.
Exactly. Again, if you don't know how your brain works, then you can't train it. Attention, again, go back and read Peak Mind. Read that book. But Dr. Ja said attention has 3 components, not just one. Okay? We have the flashlight, the searchlight,
I remember that,
and then the juggler.
Yeah.
Okay? The flashlight is that if you ever been in a dark room with a flashlight, it illuminates one point. That's the little red dot for the cat.
Yes.
This is what I'm paying attention to, right?
Yes.
So that's what, and we stop there with the spotlight, with the flashlight. Sorry, we stop there. Singular focus. But here's the thing: singular focus. But there's a second part of your attention. It's called your alerting system. That's your searchlight. Illuminates a whole big area. Why do you need that? Have you ever been walking down the street and you heard a noise and you turned to see if it was something you need to run away from? You weren't paying attention to that part of the street, but your alerting system is always there. It's always taking in the whole environment.
That's the medial brain.
Yeah, exactly. That's the mammalian brain. That's the danger or reward part of your brain.
Yeah.
That's automatically always there. Remember, I asked the question about who read that sign behind us. You saw it. You were alert. You were aware of it, but you weren't focused on it. Your flashlight wasn't on it, but your spotlight saw it.
Yes.
Right? So now we have the flashlight, the spotlight. Here comes the issue. When things in our spotlight grab that automatic attention, our flashlight goes that way. But here comes the juggler. There's the prefrontal cortex. Do I have the skill to bring my flashlight back?
That's the 3 brain.
That's your 3 parts of your brain again.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that focused attention, flashlight. But what in my alerting system, what in my searchlight is drawing my attention away? And then do I have the mental fitness to bring my flashlight back? Remember what I said. The best at paying attention can only keep their flashlight completely focused for 50% of the time that they're measured. That means they're not better than you at not getting distracted. They're better at you than coming back.
Yeah.
So it's the coming back that's the issue.
Yeah.
Okay? So now, again, here, how do we stay focused? 1, if you're doing work that requires focus, limit the stimuli in your environment if you can.
Yes.
Okay? Put your phone on vibrate, put it in another room, close the blinds, put on some noise canceling headphones, because again, it mutes that alerting system. That always helps.
Yeah.
But guess what? Even when you do that, even in a perfectly quiet room,
still something.
There's going to be thoughts that fly into your head. Your job is to strengthen that. That's what mindfulness. Remember, mindfulness strengthens that to bring that focus back to where you need it to be.
Yes.
How do I practice this? Don't try to say I want to focus for an hour. Most of us procrastinate because focusing for an hour is painful.
Yeah.
And here's another key. This is from the book Indistractable. Do you know that we don't seek true pleasure and reward? That we are almost solely motivated by avoiding pain?
Yeah.
It's not that I want to be rewarded. It's no, I want to avoid pain. Right? So when that task you've been putting off, or that thing you don't want to focus on, somehow your brain is connected that doing that is painful.
And I don't feel like doing it.
I don't feel like doing it, so that's pain. Functional MRIs, where they scanned the brain when people were trying to focus on tasks that they didn't want to do, it lit up the exact same part of the brain that processes pain. So you have to figure out, why am I avoiding this? But here's the thing. Even though you've, for one reason, said that thing's going to be painful, what you need to do is say, okay, I want to do this for 10 minutes. Now, the task, you may know that task is going to take you 3 hours to complete. Said, you know what? I'm going to sit down and work on this tax return for 10 minutes. 90% of the time, even if you don't finish it, when you stop, it'll be 30 or 40 minutes later.
Yeah.
But you have to start.
I've done that.
I can't go to you can't start exercising and immediately run a 5K.
Yeah.
But there's an app called Couch to 5K. So when you run a quarter of a mile and you walk the other rest of it, and it slowly builds you up. Start by doing small things. Limit the distractions, and then practice that mindfulness to bring that flashlight back and help that juggler, the executive, really focus. That's what focus is. Focus is not just sitting there paying attention to something for an hour. That's not how we work. Your brain doesn't function that way.
So that's why boys do well moving around.
This is why when you ask a kid to sit in a desk and pay attention like this for 7 hours a day in school, they can't do it. We can't do it. Our brain is not Think about this. If you were living in the wild and you were so focused on chopping down a tree,
you would have got eaten.
That nothing else around you mattered, what would happen?
You would die.
You'd get eaten.
Or you'd get eaten. Yeah.
So we're not built that way. We're not built that way. So stop beating yourself up because you're trying to focus and a thought comes. Don't worry about the thought. Just practice mindfulness to bring that attention back.
Yes.
And the more you do it, the easier it'll become, the better you'll get at it, the more focused you'll be.
Yes.
All right. The last thing we're going to talk about is memory. What is memory?
It's a cognitive thing.
Look at her using big words and not answering my question. Memory is a cognitive process by which we recall information.
Oh, see? I gave you the first word. Cognitive.
Golf claps for that. Okay.
Thank you.
Golf claps for that. Cognitive process that helps us, by which we recall information.
Okay.
How many times have you been walking, you come upstairs to get something, you get up here and go, what did I come here to get?
Listen, I did it. I remember yesterday. Let me tell you, yesterday I was asking my son to do something. And I literally walked around the island and started doing something else and forgot what I was going to tell him literally 10 seconds before. I said, you know what? Remember when you told me? Mm-hmm. I walked backwards. Mm-hmm. And then boom, whatever it was, triggered back up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because here again, as we go through our day, our mind is constantly bombarded with so many thoughts, so many things we're holding on to, so much stimuli that, okay, I'm going upstairs to get my charger. That's not a really significant thing. Mm-hmm. It's not world moving. It's not connected to any other consequence in our head.
Mm-hmm. Earth shattering.
It's not earth shattering. Mm-hmm. So on my way upstairs, my son asked me a question. I hear the doorbell go or something on TV catches my attention. That inconsequential thing I was going to do has gotten pushed to third place. So when I get upstairs, I go, wait, what did I come here to do? And then I look down at my phone and I see the battery indicator. Oh, my charger. What it was. Okay. So a lot of people think, oh, I'm just getting old. That's not getting old. That's being busy. Mm. And that's not being able to train not mentally fit enough to train that attention. Yeah. Okay. But that's a normal process. Yes. That's not abnormal. So how do we do that? When you need to remember things, our brain is an association engine. Mm-hmm. We learn through associating one thing with another thing. Okay? So just like I told you the other night, you were asking me about doing work from home. I told you I don't like to do that. Because when I do that, it changes my association from home. When I come home, I want to shut work off. But if I associate work with home, now when I leave work, I come home, I'm still at work. That's how your brain works. Mm-hmm. So when you need to remember things, you have to find a way to connect it to something. Mm-hmm. Connect it to information that matters. Connect it to an outcome or a goal. Okay? If I want to go to the gym and my goal is, if I know I'm working on my physical fitness and I'm going to the gym, I don't forget to bring my clothes because my goal is, my actions are informed by that goal. So that memory is tied to my goal and every behavior in between. Yes. So I don't forget my gym clothes because I've associated it with something. Okay. If you need to, you know how people have those bowls when they walk in the door, they put their keys in the bowl? Yes. That's an association. When I walk through the door, I drop my keys. They don't even realize it, but you're building a neural connection between the door and your keys. So when somebody asks you where are your keys, by the door, because they are associated. Mm-hmm. That's why when you make a decision to do something in one room and you walk through the door, if you lose it and walk back through that door, you remember because that thought is associated with that location.
Okay, yes.
So memory is largely about association. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? Again, practice mindfulness, practice doing mind games, brain games that cause you to have to associate and connect ideas and concepts. Mm-hmm. Learning is the way you preserve memory. because your memory system is your learning system. When kids build new, what do they call them? Synaptic connections. When you learn, basically one nerve in the brain is more strongly connected with another nerve in the brain. Association, right? So if you stop learning, your memory will start to suffer. I don't care what you're learning. You could be learning new Bible verses. You could be learning new songs in church. You could be learning new music. You could be learning golf. You could be learning knitting. You could be learning dog breeds. I don't care what it is. Learning reinforces memory and all of the pathways that mediate memory. Okay? Whew. I told y'all this is a full show. We might have to do a part 2. If y'all got questions, send them in, and then we can go back and cover something else. Yes. But I hope you've seen how, as much as we talk about physical fitness, there is just as much work, exercises to be done for our mental fitness, to help us be less likely to slip into mental health issues and more likely to have a very positive outlook and impact in the way we want to in the world, because we're mentally fit. Any questions?
No.
God, I know this has been a lot in this show. Please put questions and we can review other concepts. If you all want a Q&A on this show, put it in the chat and then send us some questions, and we'll do a Q&A on this show.
We can answer all those questions.
That'll be a good show, because there's a lot of stuff. But go read those books and start there. Learn how your brain works. Learn how to start getting traction. Learn how to start having a peak mind. Learn how to be indistractable. Learn how to activate your brain. And all of those things, you will start to get introduced to these concepts. And the more aware but I'm going to tell you, the more aware you become on this, the more connected you're going to be with it. And you're going to get aggravated with people for bothering you. I'm just saying. Okay,
so the name of the books are Indistractable.
Okay. By Nir Eyal. Eyal.
And then the second book you told us about was
Peak Mind by Amishi, Amishi, Jha. And then we also talked about Activate Your Brain. It's by Scott G. Halford.
Okay.
3 great books to start. There's so much information there. But it's a rabbit hole, I'm telling you.
Okay.
All right, that's it for this episode of Healthy and Whole.
Mind, Body, and Soul.
We talked about the mind tonight, mental fitness. Your homework is to go find one mindfulness exercise that you do and start doing it. I don't care if it's 6 minutes. The recommended amount is 12, but if it's 2 minutes, start there.
Yeah.
That's your first thing, mindfulness. That's the first thing to building that mental fit muscle, and then we can go from there.
Okay, guys. See you next time.
All right. See y'all next time. Y'all take care.
Bye.
Bye. Go be mentally fit and physically fit.
Yes.
Yes. See y'all later.